If anybody knows Ryan Serhant, Bravo's TV show $1 Million Listing, Ryan Coyne here is the CTO of the company. We're going to be asking him some crazy questions, talking about what's next in real estate, talking about branding, digital marketing.
The earliest mention of Metaverse being in that novel from the early 90s when it was discussed. As far as a concept, they'll either say the Metaverse is already here. It's what we're doing right now. We're in a Zoom call, able to telepresence anywhere in the world and immediately gather together. Metaverse could be a message board or a forum that allows people to be somebody else or exchange ideas and be interconnected in all the ways that we are. Social media, to a certain extent, is all that. And then there's the people on the opposite side of that same fence that say the Metaverse is the evolution of the digital space that we all occupy and do this into a world that has fewer limits and is more immersive. The problem that everybody is going to have to solve, us included, is the fact that very little will be actually connected unless you have a standard that everybody follows.
Welcome to the Top Real Estate Influencers podcast with your host, Mario Hurley, and myself, Alex Montalenti. Today, we have the privilege, the honor to have one of my close friends and the CTO of Serhant, the most followed brand on the planet. In real estate.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, if anybody knows Ryan Serhant, Bravo's TV show $1 Million Listing, Ryan Coyne here is the CTO of the company. We're going to be asking him some crazy questions, talking about what's next in real estate, talking about branding, digital marketing. And the beauty is, I know Ryan Coyne for, I'm going to say, over 20 years now.
I am not old enough for that. I didn't meet you in high school, but we did meet, I believe, 2008 or 9, I believe. Okay. Yeah.
So we've been hanging out in basements together. We've been hanging out on the streets together. We've been hanging out at real estate offices together, working on clients together. And I just love everything that comes out of Ryan's mouth and everything that comes
out. Except for that one time I drank too much at your house. Just kidding. But yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be fun today. So let's get started.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction, Alex.
So tell me, what are you up to lately?
Oh, geez. I think it's a shorter answer. What are we not up to? You know, it's interesting being such a multi-dimensional company. People ask me, what do we do? It's not enough to say real estate, because we've got the real estate brokerage, which we're, you know, currently at about 105 agents. And we're going to be at 140 before you know it. After having started with only 2 agents on September 15th, 2020. We have a full media production part of our company, Serhants Studios, which has 25 human beings that are dedicated to creating, producing, editing video for all platforms. Everything from our very successful YouTube channels, both you know, the Ryan Serhant dedicated YouTube channel, Serhant YouTube channel for the company overall, and also for Listed, our YouTube channel that's dedicated to real estate themed content. We even have a nationally syndicating television commercial for one of our top developments, Brooklyn Point, that we produced in-house entirely ourselves, that looks like $1 million commercial that we produced on our own, and people were very impressed we were able to pull that off. Very, very talented team. And we also have our Serhant Ventures Education Technology Division, which has produced 4 online courses so far in just the last, I think, 2.5-ish years. That we've sold it in 109 countries. We're in every single time zone. We've got 11,000 monthly members of our Salt Lake Serhant community, and continue to innovate and grow there. And we've become the #1 online sales course on the planet, not just for real estate, but for any kind of sales training. Our new development division continues to absolutely crush it. We've been wonderfully privileged to be the exclusive selling partner for some of the best and most exciting new developments around New York City. We have a marketing division that we call ID Lab. They're wonderfully talented because we're so focused on the agents' brands and helping them develop that to do for them what developing Ryan's brand has really done for him. in large part. And because of all these different pieces in concert, our ADX division, which I've head up as part of my CTO duties, we're always looking at what are the best tools that we can provide or build ourselves, through custom software development, so that we're keeping our promise and we're matching our ethos of being the company that helps its agents sell better and faster than any other agents on the planet. We've stayed true to that. It's something that is threaded through everything that we do, is making sure that we are absolutely on the forefront of tech, not just tech forward. As evidenced by our big announcement on January 31st about Metaverse and different things that we're doing. It's a very, very complex, multidimensional company. So the answer of what are we doing right now is just about everything. And I had hair before we started. Not true. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's a huge list of projects. And I follow you guys and I see everything you're putting out there and I go, they're always at the forefront. And I actually always knew you as being always at the forefront of technology. So it's beautiful that you teamed up with Serhant for that. If I had my way, I would have had you as my CTO. You beat me to the punch. So that's pretty amazing. And, the universe, the metaverse is the perfect question to ask you. I'd really love to hear your answer on this. I get asked a lot. How would you describe the metaverse? Like, what is the metaverse?
So there's two schools of thought on what that even means. I mean, every article, because it's almost like table stakes for explaining this to the masses, mentions the earliest mention of metaverse being in that novel from the early 90s when it was discussed. As far as a concept, people are on one side of the same fence, one or the other. They'll either say the metaverse is already here. It's what we're doing right now. We're in a Zoom call, able to telepresence anywhere in the world and immediately gather together. Metaverse could be a message board or a forum that allows people to be somebody else or exchange ideas and be interconnected in all the ways that we are. Social media, to a certain extent, is all that. And then there's the people on the opposite side of that same fence that say the metaverse is the evolution of the digital space that we all occupy and do this into a world that has fewer limits and is more immersive. The problem that everybody is going to have to solve, us included, is the fact that very little will be actually connected. Unless you have a standard that everybody follows, then it's going to be very difficult to translate anything from one metaverse to another metaverse or between the metavi. Because something that you have or own or are doesn't necessarily translate to another place that you may go to unless the code to support that being in the other place is already there, And again, without those standards in place, without centralization of some kind, then you can't necessarily have a framework or an infrastructure to support all this hopping back and forth between. And if corporations have taught us anything, it's that everybody would like to be right. Everybody would like to be in control. It's very seldom that one company actually is all the way. And of course, we've got, anti-monopoly, laws and stuff like that in place. You can argue that it's already here. You can argue that it's coming, but that it's going to take a long time. Similar to how humans discovered fire, it took us a long time to go from, holy crap, we can use this to cook. We can use this to hurt people. It's very dangerous if not controlled properly. And look, we can even make it so convenient that it's something you have installed in your house in a controlled way to take advantage of this otherwise uncontrollable or force that seems almost alive. And I think that the spirit of society writ large has been so inspired by technology for so long because of technology being so young and so new all the time. It's not a coincidence that we're always excited about the next iPhone and the next this and the next MacBook that's coming out and the next big app that everybody needs to download or try, or the next dating app that all my single friends are excited about, this new feature or whatever it is. So it has that promise, but the same thing, and I'll finish with this on that point. The same thing is true as a potential warning sign or a danger about what the metaverse can and cannot be right now and what it will and will not be in the future, where that humanity doesn't have a technology problem. Some people say that this is all too much. Some people say that we're going too far and that we don't need all this stuff. People should go outside. Absolutely, we should go outside and you should have a balance. Everything in life is balance, of course. But I really believe that technology has a humanity problem where it's a megaphone that if you put it up to the mouth of good or evil, it's going to amplify it. You can use a screwdriver to put together a baby's crib. You can stab somebody with it. Same thing with fire. You can use it to cook or to burn someone. So I think it's about, there's an ethical and a moral obligation. We have a responsibility as the people who are charting the path forward, the Lewis and Clark of the digital space that everybody in the technology industry is taking the mantle of being right now, to not mess this up. There's an incumbent responsibility as the new rock stars of the world that technology people in the industry have become, to not make it ugly, to not amplify the evil, to have some kind of controls in place to prevent the metaverse from being something that will cause society to shy away from it and not allow the slow, careful progression to take place over a period of time to conquer the impatience of some and to placate the caution of others.
Not only that, but we're also talking about, as you said, each large or medium-sized company wants to build their own metaverse. Say we have all of this all in one place. You get to have that whole, I'm going to use the word experience, right? The whole virtual you inside this little world that exists somewhere. That the fact that they also want to monetize all that data that is being collected, all that personal information, all that, the habits, preferences. So when you talk about preventing this from going evil and actually hurting society, what I see is like the real question. And even I'm going to direct this to you at some point. You guys are actually already part of that movement of taking advantage of this technology and creating this virtual experience and worlds for people. Do you have like a multilateral plan where from one end we take care of the training and the development, but on another one we're going to monetize on everything we can collect, or what?
Yeah, I think that there's, at the very root of any kind of development project, whether it's metaverse or something more simplistic, you have a goal of what you're looking to solve as far as a problem that people have, right? How you solve that problem has to have integrity to it. It has to have real utility. We all know that necessity is the mother of innovation. I have a need, I need to solve it. How do we fill that need? We believe very strongly that we have found the recipe for what the real estate industry needs and what the online education community needs, specifically around the kinds of education we would like to provide. And that from having a somewhat more narrow focus, not a myopic one, not one that's too focused, but we're not necessarily looking to produce something that is for everybody on the planet right now. Okay, we know who our audience is in the immediate future. And we know that it's a cone, right? We start out narrow and we expand outward, okay? So for us, moderation tools are important. I think that every company has to address that these things need to be staffed. Whether it's AI or a human, there can't be no cops on the street, so to speak. Or it's a recipe for other kinds of things that I don't want to speak about. I think that it's important to have that goal, to think about and talk to people who are not as close to it as you, to find out what other people would think. It's like that moment in Independence Day when Jeff Goldblum's getting off the floor because he's wasted and he's upset about the alien ship, and his dad says, "Come on, you're going to catch a cold," and he just inceptions that idea of giving the alien mothership a virus. Sometimes you need somebody who's not so close to it and who's not a technology person, the users, to give you that feedback. There's only two groups of industry people on the planet who actually call their customers users: software and technology companies and drug dealers. Those are the only two that call their consumers users. You see subscribers a lot, customers, different kinds of stuff.
Software builders and drug dealers.
Those are the two places that you'll hear the customers called users, right? And the thing about that is I'm not looking to get people addicted to something. That's not our company's style. We don't want to use psychological tricks like mobile apps do very frequently to, to make people, blow their life savings on something or, be disingenuous about the value. The opposite is true. We want to demonstrate so much value and so much utility that it helps people be more successful. That's it. It's not something that's for us, it's for them. It's one of those things that where like I'll come home with maybe a nice dinner that's for my family, but I picked the restaurant and also got something that I'm going to enjoy. Everybody benefits from this service. So to answer your question very directly, I think that we've got a great path charted forward. One of the reasons we feel so confident is because the big metaverse question about what does all this do for the users? We have answers for that, really good ones. And as more and more information comes out, I think that you'll agree that there's something really special that because of our unique position in the marketplace, because of who Ryan Serhant is, because of our brand strength, because of the entirety of the rest of the company, all the way on down through everything that comprises who we are, we have a unique way to contribute to what's going on right now in this moment in history.
I really like what you said about the different universes or the different metaverses. They're almost like universes, right? The different metaverses can't be transferred. It's like this morning I was in EXP world as one avatar, and then I could go play with my kids in Roblox as another avatar, but my avatars don't transfer. My sword that I got in Roblox with my kid doesn't transfer over to EXP world, and the knowledge I get at EXP world could transfer through my head, I guess, but the classes themselves don't transfer over. The credits don't transfer over. And it's just interesting. Yeah. I mean, it brings up a great point. Like they don't speak to each other. So we got to be aware of that. I also looked up Roblox because I'm like, my kids have been in the metaverse for a long time now. They've been purchasing things in Roblox, and Roblox last year made 500 million and very profitable, right? And so it's interesting to see different real estate companies building their own metaverse worlds. It's also interesting to see like properties being bought and sold, and and they can't necessarily be, I don't know, you'd let me know, can they be transferred from one metaverse to another? Where should I buy my property?
Well,
how is that being played by you and your team over there?
Yeah, well, I mean, just to address the multiple companies building, we are the first to completely build our own. The EXP world is a thing that we know exists. We know it's legacy technology that was a good first draft for some aspects in terms of being able to communicate and gather and things like that. When they acquired the company that actually built it, that company Verbella, they saw something that they wanted to add to their stack. And more power to them. We are aiming at doing something that gives people a reason to spend more time in there to actually get some work done. That you don't necessarily have to be in there for a singular focus. I'll be careful about what I say about our details, but I can certainly tell you that if that's the comparison, I think that you're going to be more than blown away by what we have planned. As far as the rest of the question, something as simple as the sword from Roblox that you mentioned, okay? The artwork for that sword, the texture, the colors, the actual image file, the texture file that has to live within the system, the code for what the sword should do, like maybe it in Roblox gives you plus 10 strength. What if you're going into something else that there's not strength used as a metric? The sword doesn't have the ability to buff a stat that doesn't exist. The artwork doesn't exist in the other platform to actually render what the sword should look like. This is all just lines of code. If the images for the things that you're trying to bring from one place to another don't exist in the other, it can't show up. It's just a technological limitation. Game developers are going nuts about this because the American public writ large is excited about the prospect of this, while the scientists who actually know how to achieve it all are going, this is not Harry Potter. It's not like things just magically appear. There's real work and time that goes into making it function. Cross-platform compatibility everybody has to opt in. You experience this challenge day to day with iMessage on your iPhone. You message with an Android user, what do you see? A green bubble, right? Apple is not interested in making iMessage available to non-iPhone users. They're doing what BlackBerry did with BlackBerry Messenger. We've seen this before. Proprietary technologies fail given enough time. Open source succeeds given enough time, which is why when you see examples in the market of things that stay too walled off for too long, people will get frustrated with the licensing costs and figure out another way. There's a famous example we talk about in IT where we say, there's so many different ways to plug in a screen to a computer. You got the VGA cable, the HDMI, the DVI dual link, the display port, mini display port, Thunderbolt 2, 3, and 4, USB Type-C, USB 3.2, Gen 1, and Gen 2. That's okay. So then people talk about, we need one cable that can do all of it. Okay. And then that list just gets one longer. And they're all still there because the entire world just doesn't agree. And then we end up saying, we need one thing that can just replace all of them. And the list just gets longer. So that's, to me, the biggest threat to all of this and this progression that we can make as a society. The decentralized appeal of blockchain and of metaverse is great. It's great appeal. It is also counterintuitive, which is why we decided on building a proprietary platform. Building something that exists on somebody else's platform requires both parties to capitulate in a way that may not give you the flexibility of doing something that's truly historic.
Awesome. Let me move our conversation a little bit to the individual, because at the end of the day, is people who are doing these things, right? Machines themselves, they're not smart enough to think of new metaverses. They're following whatever programming they've been given, and they have certain limitations, but they're not as smart as we are yet. Maybe another 10, 50 years, who knows? But I wanted to ask you your role as a CTO. How do you see your role? What is like your mission? And this was Alex's idea. Now I'm really curious because I think you fill a very important place, right? Especially now, right? So describe who are you in the company? What is your role, and also where are you taking this?
Well, I as the Chief Technology Officer, I'm responsible for vetting, selecting, developing, and conversing about everything that runs on electricity. If you can download it or plug it in, I'm probably in the conversation. Not the only decider. We make decisions as a group all the time. We have a wonderful leadership team that we collaborate on everything. Ryan is the most hands-on, but yet not micromanaging CEO that you can possibly imagine. Everybody on our leadership team is willing to do anything that's required. We don't say no to stuff. We believe in high ownership of things, but full collaboration as a constant. If we need to sweep up at the end of having an event, we all grab a broom. There's no ego or pride in the room. It's wonderful. As far as the way that planning goes, and what the CTO's role is, at least in my chair, I have the unique privilege of currently being the longest tenured member of the team. I've been working in consulting to Ryan since December 2013. We just passed 8 years. So I've got the story and the thread on just about whatever's gone on. It's all written down just in case I die.
But and by the way, congratulations for that. That's an accomplishment.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. So yeah, I've been really privileged to welcome pretty much everybody. I wasn't always as involved in the beginning. I was just a run-of-the-mill consultant that knew how to keep his mouth shut so that things didn't end up in page 6 about Ryan's life. Time went by, and we've been very loyal to each other, as has everybody that's worked for him, because there's a phenomenal culture in place. It's a really wonderful company. So because of that same wonderful culture, I feel very supported as the CTO to investigate whatever technology is going to help the agents be their best, whatever is going to help studios and ventures and ID Lab and the ADX development team be their best. I get to have very like Disney World 5-year-old wonder kind of excitement conversations with companies that I would have never thought possible. Our public relations team is incredible at, if we say we would like to talk to this company or they approached us, some of the logos and some of the names of the big companies that I end up on the phone with somebody high up as a result of the equity that Ryan and the rest of the company has put into this brand and making it as strong as it is, are kid in a candy store to me. You know, some of it feels like a cheat code for life, that if I'm curious about a particular technology and I send a contact us on a website, I'm hearing back from the CEO of that company within 30 minutes, as opposed to a person in the sales funnel a few days later, you know?
Yeah.
So that definitely makes it easier and more efficient, where we can do more research more quickly, do the vetting more quickly. People, we don't ask for handouts and people don't give them to us too frequently. You'd be surprised. We don't ask anybody to work for free. I mean, if people send us different kinds of promotional products and stuff, we don't exactly return to sender. But we've had some really wonderful opportunities. Like, there's only 2 companies in the world that are partnered with Bang & Olufsen, you know, the really powerhouse, like top handmade international media speakers and TVs and headphones. Like, they produce all this wonderful media equipment and products. Only 2 companies in the world are partnered with them: Lamborghini, which everybody's heard of, and Serhant, which a lot of people have heard of, and soon everyone will hear of, because that really says something. Their company believes in our brand so strongly, they approached us. And we've been able to parlay that kind of strength in the brand and that kind of strength in our tech forward approach into being the premier mobile first brokerage that exists, into creating an office environment in our Serhant house, our clubhouse environment, that has never existed in the space before, and to be able to chart an expansion strategy that is in line with all those values. So as the CTO, I get to be involved in all those conversations, early morning, late night, and everything in between, as far as how we reach everything and everybody in all the ways that matter to us, and all the things that we have that pop into our head as ideas, to start a path forward on them.
Ryan, weren't you before a gamer?
Still a gamer.
That's what I was gonna ask you. Do you have time for games now?
At night sometimes, yeah. We got a group of buddies. We hop on, play some multiplayer stuff sometimes.
What games do you like? What games are you into?
Well, currently I'm enjoying Spider-Man Miles Morales on PS5 with my 11-year-old son. I play Last of Us with my wife sometimes, which is also on PlayStation. And my friends and I at night like to play some first-person shooter games and shout at each other. It's very fun. Not too loudly, although this room is sound insulated. But yeah, it's also a good time at night. When I'm not gaming, I'll go through some of the more like roadmap kind of IT things that I want to be investigating and doing research on when things are quieter. Because during the day, when I'm managing the IT department, also as part of my duties, it's not necessarily the best headspace for planning the roadmap of the company expansion and growth as far as the tech stack over time. So we get a lot of good research done there to then meet internally the next day and huddle on what we learned and discovered and go through it, red team and poke holes on things. It's not unlike gaming, working with my colleagues. It always feels like we're working as a group to conquer something. Not too dissimilar.
Yeah, we used to do a lot of late nights together, brainstorming stuff.
Yeah, no, we did. A lot.
I got a question for you about.
You basically invented the concept of Nextdoor years before it actually came out. You remember that?
It's true.
I told you about the post office idea, and you said, you know what I really want to do is I want to turn it into this other thing. And sure enough, Nextdoor just appears, and it was totally your idea.
It happens.
Wow.
It does.
Yeah, you remember Submit Your Listings?
I don't remember that one.
That was the listing syndication service.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that was
where HubSpot came out.
There you go.
Stuff like that. But I got a question for you. I mean, Serhant is, like we said, the most followed brand on the planet
in real estate.
In real estate. and
Coca-Cola is the most recognized phrase on the planet, even before the letters OK. So I'm going to have to go ahead and give them.
Careful.
Yeah.
Wow.
So every realtor wants to be like Serhant, right? When it comes to social media, and they're all looking and following and watching the videos and watching the Instagram. And I see him showing up all the time, but I'm sure that it's not a one-man show. How many people would you say are involved with the social media presence? Because I mean, I think a lot of realtors out there, they think, I got to do this and I got to do it myself. And it's like, I keep telling them, you can't possibly do it all yourself.
It depends on the content and on the platform. There's a lot of stuff he does himself when he's just, at home, traveling, even in the office. He does plenty on his own. Yeah. Does he take time meticulously to plan it out? Sure. Not everything is team effort. Some things are. Some things are done in collaboration or for a specific goal. We know that, for example, leading up to talking about Metaverse yesterday on social for the first time, he did a teaser earlier in the day. Sometimes there's, a small amount of coordination and planning. Sometimes there's a lot. So it depends. It can sometimes be one person. It can sometimes be several people. I know that's not a great answer, but it depends on the resources and what the goal of the campaign is. I'm not going to pretend that it's easy to have a media production division. There's not another brokerage out there that has as large or as strong of a media production division as we do. We've definitely put a lot of eggs in that basket, and for good reason. It's done a lot for us. But having that flexibility of, this member of the team is really good at that stuff, let's ask them to pitch in. It's like having a roster of specialties, and most people have that in the form of their friends and family and colleagues, just not working for them full time, perhaps. But you do have specialists all over your life that if you needed actors or stand-ins or somebody to contribute in a certain way, most people do have that bench. More of it requires the thought and finding your voice. In fact, to most people, I would recommend taking our personal branding course, which is available on ryanserhant.com/course. You can review the different options there, but our personal branding workshop and course is wonderful at helping you figure out what your personal brand is, which makes the social strategy and content much easier, because then you have this stronger sense of identity on how to create that content and find your voice in your personal brand.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of realtors struggle with that. Like, what is my brand? Or they toggle between, I'm a realtor and I'm a landscaper. How do I put the two together into a brand? Should I do both? Should they be separate?
Yeah, I mean, that's a common problem that people have to solve, is they've got this duality, right? Not for nothing. It's one of Ryan's things too, is that he's not, just one thing in a lot of different ways, right? He's an author. He's a television star. He's a CEO. He's a broker who has to, worry about sales too. He's a social media mogul. He's all kinds of stuff.
Does he ask people?
I'm waiting for his rap single to come out eventually. Who knows what's next?
Does he ask for people not to shake his hand very hard?
I can't say that I've seen that or witnessed it, but then, listen, around the office, and as it's become a different world since March of 2020, we've all kind of become more of a fist bump, forearm bump, elbow bump kind of company.
No, I meant so that the hand, because he used to be a hand model. You don't want to mess with that.
Oh, you're so funny. Now he wears these Kevlar, gauntlets. No, he's, I've not seen that, but I do know that he still has hand model quality hands. Whenever he is holding his phone or a piece of paper, everybody oohs and ahs. That's what you want to hear.
Yes. And then another thing that's super huge, we want to know from you. You alluded to it multiple times. You said the company culture. You're there. It's like really something special for you. All of our past guests, we've always asked them, what's the value in mindset, personal development, company culture, and so on. So from your perspective, because I noticed you're not so much into the cheesy stuff, right? You like practical things. You like things that work. And
I like cheesy stuff, just not gimmicks.
There we go. Not gimmicks, right? That's a very, very clear distinction there. So tell us about the mindset, the culture at the Serhant team.
Well, the mindset is to be relentless. and to disrupt for good. We want to do things differently in the spirit of making change, but that has a positive impact, and to not give up or say die. We're definitely of the mindset that you can have a shared effort that is encouraging, that is trying to change the world in a positive way and be influential of thousands upon thousands of people, tens of thousands of people across the planet, as we've had the influence over, and millions more across different platforms, in terms of the way that the different content that's been put out over the years has helped. Ryan gets emails all day, every day, from people who are saying, thank you so much, you've changed my life. Thank you so much, you've inspired me to do this. You inspired me to lose weight. You inspired, not me, of course, but you've inspired me to change this, or get out of my career, or to do something different with my relationship. Who knows? Anything. It's all the time, from all over the world, not always in a language that we can decipher. And to me, that extends all the way into the culture, as far as that we inspire each other just as much as he inspires us. There's nothing that you can ask for more than somebody who leads by example, but doesn't necessarily expect you to be a clone of him. So I would say this is not a talking point. It's really, this is how I describe it in private too, if you want juicy goss.
Yeah.
The biggest compliment that I could pay a CEO is that they are receptive. Ryan is extraordinarily receptive. He is willing to hear you. He is willing to listen. He is willing to see you and your work for what it is, how hard you're working. And even though he's inspirational with the way that he gets up super early and works out every day, and that he's got a regimented schedule and seems to be in 9 places at once and all this stuff, he also respects the capacity of each individual as an individual, without expecting everybody to be some kind of automaton that has an endless battery. He knows that he's got something special within him, that he doesn't even drink coffee, guys. This is a caffeineless human being who manages to do the things that he does. I know. Takes excellent care of his body and his mind, and that is something that is a good energy in the room and in the company that you can feel ripples out, where we're all constantly encouraging each other with positivity and willing to pick up the extra work and shoulder the load. Nobody groans or complains if we need another meeting about something else that's going to pick up another whole area of the company. We are bursting at the seams with so much creativity that we've had to actively hire more pragmatism, because we're always, thinking in the stars, that our director of operations, is still a creative person, more than maybe the average director of operations, but was like, wow, I can feel it in the air that there is so much inspiration and creativity in this house. The agents that have joined say the same thing. The guests who visit the house say the same thing. Guests who come to parties and events at the house have said the same thing. It's a consensus that it just feels like a special place to be, like a hallowed ground. And it also happens to be a historical building in New York City, so it doesn't hurt. But yeah, that ripples out to employees that work on site, that ripples out to our distributed workforce around the country. Everybody feels like a family very quickly. We joke about it being like sleepaway camp, where as soon as you've been here for 2 weeks, it feels like you've known each other forever. It's truly special.
I got a question. Outside of the day-to-day meetings and the creativity meetings and all that, what kind of cultural things do you put in place to actually have everybody connect outside of work? Like,
yeah, that's a good question. We have quarterly town halls where the leadership team, starting with Ryan, will update the entire staff on what's going on with the company in a very transparent way. Even talking about, I won't mention it on a recording, but talking about the kinds of things that really make everybody feel like they're a partner and on the inside of the company's strategy. There are also, there's every Friday is a staff lunch where he buys lunch for the whole company, and we all sit together at a big table on our first floor. We have 2 big tables there, but we'll all gather around and eat together and share a meal. It's wonderful that way. We have all hands meetings where it's the staff and the agents all at once. Those happen quarterly as well. There's agent sales huddles that happen every month where we will have a catered event at the office for the agents that come in for the sales meeting, where we update all the agents on everything and do something that makes them feel very connected to each other and mingling. Because for us, it's our customers are technically the agents, right? And their customers are their clients. So we've got a staff to make sure that we're feeling very connected to and that we are fostering that connection, which just kind of by accident minimizes the drama because people feel so connected. There's no competition. Everybody feels really secure in their role and their contribution and their willingness to go outside of it if needed. And I don't mean more work. I just mean more diversity of actual work that's being performed. So yeah, gatherings, appreciation, he will send reminders individually in addition to his one-on-ones that he has with people weekly. He makes the time, it's a lot. It's a lot for one person, but he makes the time. We also make sure that we've got, in addition to the one-on-ones, several of us have these like check-in emails that we'll send him at the end of the week that are updates about different categories that maybe we didn't get a chance to talk about, or different ongoing project efforts that we're tracking in our project management system, but almost like a digest. So he can stay very connected to things and give feedback and comments. And the guy's got an astonishing memory. He'll say back to you, like, how's this thing going? How's that person? How's this? You went to this place again? How was it when you went there? With specific details that maybe it's because of all the clients that he's been working with over the years. His brain's been trained that way, but he definitely makes everybody feel special and seen. And that's something that is a quality that carries over to all members of the leadership team, the admin staff, and even the junior staff. Very supportive environment because of that, leading by example, but also not expecting people to be who they're not. I'll end with this. I remember I was working on something Christmas Eve, just the morning, not at night, but in the morning on the 24th. And I texted him an update on this thing that's very important. It was about Metaverse. Okay. Yeah. And he said, take the rest of the day off. What are you doing? You need to chill. You work so hard as it is. Please enjoy this time with your family. Drop the computer and go back to your wife and your kids. You deserve it. What kind of boss does that?
Right. Very
best kind.
Yeah.
Best kind. Yeah.
And do you keep working?
I gave it like another hour and a half, but I didn't tell him that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I love my work. It doesn't always feel like work. So
yeah,
I know these are very long answers to your questions, but I'm trying to give you the real picture.
No, that's what I'm hearing. I mean, I'm hearing that you're blessed to be in a place where you have, a CEO that's receptive, listening, open to ideas, also has a human side where he's like caring, like take time off work, relax. And, to have somebody who listens to their employees and for their employees to be heard is gold. I mean, yeah. I like that you referred to it as the house. It's like, that's the house you want to live in, right? A house where you actually get heard and like you can have conversations with people in the house.
It's true. It's really true. For us, it's we expect greatness from each other. If somebody is slacking, we will point it out. But if somebody's burning out or seeming like they're doing too much, we call it out too. We get them help. It's one of the reasons we implemented OKRs, is to basically have data show us where somebody needs help, so that we're not making emotionally based hiring decisions around expanding departments, and that the person in that position who might be burning out doesn't even have to feel that it's an overreach to ask for help, that the data is showing us that in a non-punitive way. We have a commitment to that, if something's not making progress, but we can clearly see that the person's working very hard on other things, that's not something where they're looked down on for not finding a way to make it work. It's something that's an administrative conversation about how to solve and move through, That's why it's so positive. It's healthy.
Yes, it's brilliant. What are OARs?
OKRs. Those are objectives and key results. A lot of people call those like goals and KPIs, but they're not exactly the same thing. An OKR, everybody can Google it. You don't need me to go through an OKR speech, but objectives and key results are a very powerful thing that I recommend every company implement.
And do you guys use a software for that, or how is that?
Yeah, we use a website called profit.co. to track our OKRs, and it integrates with all of our other systems that we use. And it's wonderful. The team over there has been great. I recommend them very highly. There's this, it's been very successful for us, Profit.co. Yeah.
Amazing. Before we go, I would love for you to share with us about the courses and about the different offerings right now that you guys are making available to the real estate industry.
Oh, word. Okay. That is, to be short about it, the best thing to do is to go to ryanserhant.com/course. When you're there, you will see all the information that you need to understand what might be the best for you to do. You can also go to join.ryanserhant.com if you want to go right into the experience of being able to choose what might be your best option in a capacity to actually make a purchase. But the ryanserhant.com/course takes you there once you've seen enough and click on something to move forward as well. There are several different courses available. There's one that's just I shouldn't say just. If Kyle watches this, he'll laugh at that. There's one that is a generalized how to be the best at sales style course. It takes you all the way through systems and mindsets, and it's based on Ryan's first book, the bestseller, Sell It Like Serhant. And then we also have a social ads course on how to understand that better and take better control of it for yourself. We have a personal branding course, and there's more. So everybody should check it out. It's awesome. And make sure you follow us on social media, because once in a while we do drop a promotion, and you can take advantage of that if you see it.
Excellent. Alex, any last questions?
No, it's just a pleasure. I'm glad we talked about the metaverse. Glad we spoke about company culture. I think we hit on some key points. I had some big takeaways from today's call and some inspiration, as a leader in the company, like, how do I model that kind of culture and, recreate that in what we're building here. So I always enjoy conversations with you. Surprised we didn't have more jokes and laughs, because I know you tell some pretty good jokes too.
I mean, hey, I also follow Ryan's example of when it's time to, be very informative because you're being trusted as a subject matter expert on something. That's your mode. And when keeping it light can benefit the conversation, that's what we do too. So maybe when you watch it again, you'll have a few extra smiles from things that maybe didn't sound like jokes the first time.
Absolutely. And to me, it seems like you are like a walking encyclopedia for software and, different useful websites out there that, would love to pick your brain one day on that. Like, I had no idea about that software out there. Profit.co. I had no idea. And there's so much more out there.
I'm happy to come back anytime you'd like. We can absolutely do this again. This was a lot of fun. And I'm always happy to share with the real estate community, as long as it's not something that we have under media embargo at this time.
Correct. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Alex and Mario.